Part 41. My Love Simulation with Them. Author, Chiudeo de Ziiwei. Chapter 402. But soon, Nang Xiangxi looked at her strangely again. I asked you if you have a pen. There is, a pen, isn't it? Shi-kun, why do you want a pen? How can I sign this if you don't give me a pen? Nang Xiang picked up the marriage term in a calm voice. No. When looking at Nang Xiang, who had a serious expression and didn't seem to be joking at all, Nishiki Kishu, who was originally prepared to see him showing embarrassment and shyness, panicked. Because she just wanted to make a small prank from the beginning and wanted to see Nang Xiang's jokes. In the end, he was obviously just a small mediocre person, but he directly deceived Nang Xiangxi's ultimate move. She was not mentally prepared for anything. Nishiki Kishu was stunned for a moment, and it wasn't until Inu Takina next to her silently handed over a black water-based pen that she suddenly reacted. Etc. What's wrong? Nang Xiang stopped writing his name. Shi-kun. Are you serious? Nishiki Kishu tried to slow down his tone and persuaded Nang Xiang, although I don't care if I sign now, I really don't care. But Shai-jun, you have to think about it, you still have to take the exam. Pressure, is it a little bit to sign now? No, that's right. There was still pressure to take exams in Nang Xiang. This was not the time to distract him with things like marriage. Even if it's for his own good, we can't let him sign. However, there is no pressure on me to take exams, have you forgotten? I have always been a genius. Nang Xiangxi waved his hand, looking indifferent. Damn top student. Jinmuqinsha gritted his teeth. Nang Xiang almost forgot about her if she wasn't mentioned. The guy I like is a standard top student. Ranked first in the national mock test. How can such a person feel pressure to take exams? But, if Nang Xiangxi really signed, what should I do? Jinmuqinsha was really panicked now. She didn't expect that when she just made a joke and teased Nang Xiang, she ended up getting herself into trouble. Because this was so sudden, she wasn't ready for anything yet. She was suddenly about to become Nang Xiangxi's quasi-wife. Her expression went from being at ease at first to panic now. Only a few minutes passed. Seeing Nang Xiangxi's marriage getting closer and closer, Nishiki Kishu lowered her pretty face that was full of dissatisfaction just now. That, Toki-kun. What's wrong? Can I go back on my word now that I said it was just a joke? He made a weak questioning sound. Joke. When Nan Xiang looked at Jinmu Qianshu. No. That's it? It's an analogy. It's just an analogy. If it's a joke, can I still regret it? Nishiki Kishu waved her hands in panic. Qianshu doesn't want to marry me. After hearing her words, Nang Xiangxi fell silent at first, and then lowered his voice. The voice was low, and there seemed to be indescribable sadness and loss in it. But it was just when I heard Nang Xiang's sad tone. Nishiki Kishu suddenly felt her heart softening, and then immediately patted her chest. How? There's no such thing. I really want to marry Shai-jun. That's okay then. Nang Xiangxi showed an expression that was half smiling but not smiling. The loss and sadness just now were all gone in the second. The speed of the face change surprised Nishiki Kishu. Ruined. I was completely controlled by the man in front of me. The other party was sure of her from the beginning. Jinmuqinsha pursed her lips. She had no idea why it suddenly became like this. She obviously had the upper hand at the beginning, so Nang Xiang had to comfort her. As a result, everything suddenly changed and she couldn't hold her head up when she was in Nang Xiang. She could only watch helplessly as Nang Xiangxi signed the marriage agreement neatly. Then he left his name and seal in Nang Xiangxi's semi-forced words. Fortunately, at this time, Inu Takina saw what she was thinking, and took the initiative to come over and whisper. "It's okay, Takina, it's still so long before you become an adult, there will still be a chance during this period." This is true. As long as it is not handed over to the district office, Nishiki Kishu will still have a chance. As long as you can get the marriage certificate, there will be no problem. At this moment, Nishiki Kishu regained his energy. However, let me take care of the marriage. Nang Xiangxi mentioned the date of marriage between the two of them. I remember Qianshu's birthday is September 23rd, then I will submit it directly to the district office for them to accept it. Well, now it's not just Jin Mukyanshu. Even Inu Takina was stunned. Mainly because they didn't expect it at all. Nang Xiangxi actually didn't give them a chance at all, and decided to hand over the marriage to the district office when the time came. Looking at the smiling black-haired young man, they both really wanted to ask Nang Xiang why he was so skilled. It's obvious that the other party has never been married at all, so how come they know the marriage process better than them? The last hope was dashed. Nishiki Kishu was like a gambler who gave all his money, burning up in an instant, and the background seemed to turn grey at this moment. It's not that she doesn't want to marry Nang Xiangxi, on the contrary, she is a little happy to be able to marry him. It's just that the progress is too fast. Almost in the blink of an eye, as soon as I sat down and said a few words, I decided to get married and planned to get the certificate the next second. You can't go as fast as a rocket, right? Nishiki Kishu had a dull look on his face, feeling that he was so stupid. Why can't I think about it all of a sudden and want to lose my temper at Nang Xiangxi? It was obvious that she had known this all along. In Nangxiang, this young man was not at all like the usual 16 or 17-year-old boys who could do whatever she wanted. Every time she teases the other person, she will be teased by the other person in turn. This has become the norm. As a result, I still remember to eat but not to fight. Stupid, stupid, stupid. You are such an idiot. Thousands of bunches. The villain in Jin Mukyanshu's heart is running around. Then he couldn't help but start thinking about his life after marriage with Nang Xiangxi. Since you are married, then we must live together in the future, right? In other words, I have to move out of Rico and live with Toki-kun. Living together, and then there's the matter of having children? Give birth to a child at the age of 18? Isn't this a bit too fast? But, if it was Toki-kun, he would definitely be able to get me pregnant soon, right? That's the kind of person he is. Even if he said he didn't want to have a child, he would still have 100 ways to have a child. So now that I have a baby, what's the baby's name? No way, my brain is going to shut down. Nishiki Kishu felt as if his brain was on fire at this moment. Her eyes were dull and she had been thinking for a long time. Her mood, which was almost calm, was disturbed by Nang Xiangxi's words in the next second. Qianshu, pack up. I'm going to stay in your dormitory tonight. Huh? Huh? Two simple words were enough to explain the changes in Nishiki Kishu's emotions. When she looked at Nang Xiang in astonishment, she seemed unable to believe what the other party said. Go and stay in their dormitory for one night? Shaijun. This. What's so incredible? Compared with the disbelief on her face, Nang Xiangxi was a little strange. We are now considered a relationship between fiancé and fiancé, right? It's not a big problem to sleep at your place for one night, right? My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 403. That's what I said, but, Takina is still here. Nishiki Kishu, who had high offense and low defense, couldn't withstand the wave after wave of attacks from Nangashi, so he looked at Inu Takina as if he was asking for help. However, Nishiki Kishu didn't think of one thing. She has high attack and low defense. Then Takina Inu is a pure low attack and low defense type. Nang Xiangxi just said, isn't Takina unwilling? The black-haired girl over there who was planning to say something immediately shook her head. Look, Sensu, Takina doesn't care either. Nang Xiangxi looked at Jin Muqinshu with a smile. But Nishiki Kishu wanted to say something else. However, Nan Xiangxi waved his hand, blocking her intention to continue speaking. Nothing but, it's just decided. Just such a simple sentence. But it made Nishiki Kishu think of how an egg is born, and the story of the female core and the male core. The business hours of Liko Liko ended soon. And after it was over, it was naturally a matter of staying overnight in Nishiki Kishu's dormitory in Nangxiang. To this, Nishiki Kishu also secretly sought help from Nakahara Mizuki and Kurumi. It's just that these two people adhere to the attitude that it has nothing to do with themselves and hangs high, turning a blind eye to her pleas for help. So in the end, it's still like this. When he looked at Nangxiang, who was sitting on the sofa in the living room and adjusting the TV station, Nishiki Kishu didn't know what to do anymore. Look back at the past. Nishiki Chisuk discovered that her sister and best friend Inu Takina had secretly hid in the room at some point. It can be said that she is completely alone when facing Nangxiang. But when facing Nangxiang alone, she simply can't do it. Nishiki Kishu took a deep breath. Then he clenched his fists. Good. Run away. Just say that you are going to sleep. Escape this way. It's unlikely that Nangxiang still held her tight when she was sleeping, right? Think so. Nishiki Kishu took a deep breath, looked at Nangxiang, and said tentatively, Shikun, if you want to eat, there is something in the refrigerator, and then, I will go and rest first, okay? I'm tired after a long day's work. Her voice was shaking. Anyone with a discerning eye can see at a glance that this is just looking for an excuse to leave. However, what Nishiki Kishu didn't expect was, in response to her words, Nan Xiangxi just smiled and nodded, and after saying okay, he stopped caring about her. This made Jin Muqinshu secretly relieved. Quietly, he exited the living room. He cautiously entered his room. He closed the door and lay down on the bed. As soon as he entered the bed, an indescribable sense of peace came over me. It's like you watched a horror movie at night. There is a world inside the bed, and outside the bed, there is another world that is dark and indescribable. This is how Nishiki Kishu feels now. It should be okay, right? He glanced at the door. I didn't see anyone wanting to come in. The blonde girl finally breathed a sigh of relief. She wanted to close her eyes and rest. But I don't know why. Just close your eyes. My mind is full of what we are talking about today, marriage. I was so confused that I couldn't sleep at all. She tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep, and finally she could only lie on the bed with her eyes closed. It was at this time Nishiki Kishu suddenly realized something was wrong with his bed. It's like a part of it is sunken. No. Why did my bed move suddenly? Jin Muqinshu quietly narrowed her eyes, revealing a gap. Through this gap, she clearly saw Nan Xiang lying on her side. That well-proportioned figure was only one finger away from her. Shijun. What do you want to do to me? The originally peaceful heart was filled with turmoil. What to do? Do you want to wake up now? Or should I pretend to sleep and not see it? There are two paths before us. But no matter which one it is, it can be said to be an extremely difficult choice for Nishiki Kishu. Nishiki Kishu could smell the scent coming from Nang Xiangxi. Probably just took a shower. With a shower gel scent. At such a close distance. Her level 5 keen perception far exceeds that of ordinary people, and she can even feel it. Nangxiang didn't stop there. But at a slow pace. He moved closer to her slowly. Shijun. Jin Muqinshu's heart at this moment. In addition to being anxious and overwhelmed, there is also an indescribable joy. I am happy about the closeness in Nangxiang. But I felt overwhelmed by the suddenness of the young man. A girl's mind is always so elusive. She was obviously the happiest person in the night attack before. But after attacking and defending in different positions, she was the one who was most troubled in her heart. After all, it's better to pretend to sleep. Nishiki Kishu made a decision. Because even if she really said that she hadn't fallen asleep, Nangxiangshi would probably only show her usual gentle smile and wave her hands indifferently to show that they were an unmarried couple and it didn't matter if they slept in the same bed. Even after she wakes up, she might have to endure Nangxiangshi's active teasing, be forced to interact with him, and be forced by him to sign a series of unequal treaties. Instead of that happening, it's better to pretend to be asleep at this time. Thinking of this, the girl closed her eyes tightly. However, are you pretending to be asleep? Qianshu. A slightly smiling voice sounded in my ears. This made Nishiki Kishu's heart explode immediately after she just decided to pretend to be asleep. Did you see it? Shijun, did he see that I was pretending to be asleep? Nishiki Kishu thought about being exposed. But she didn't expect that she would be exposed so soon. But, sure enough, it still doesn't work. Still have to pretend to sleep. You can't be led by Shijun's rhythm. Nishiki Kishu made up his mind. No matter who comes over today, she will not open these eyes. However, if you keep pretending to sleep, then I'm going to do something else to you. Nangxiangshi's voice continued to grow steadily. However, the content of those words made Jin Muqianshu think wildly. Other things. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwei. Chapter 404. No. Shijun. Nishiki Kishu was about to cry after being bullied by Nangxiangshi. But because of the asleep setting, she couldn't react. She was struggling internally. Then, she felt keenly that Nanxiang was slowly approaching. Still slowly approaching. She could even feel the heat on Nanxiangshi's face. At the same time, she could feel Nanxiangshi's palms groping for something in front of her body. Toki-kun. What are you planning to do? At this moment, the blonde girl finally could no longer pretend to sleep. She opened her eyes. A blush of embarrassment appeared on his face in just the blink of an eye. She subconsciously checked her pajamas. As a result, the girl was surprised to find out there was no sign of messiness in her pajamas. The image of Nangxiang unbuttoning her pajamas did not appear either. She couldn't help but raise her head. The next second, his eyes met Nangxiang's teasing eyes. It's over. I was manipulated by Shijun again. Nishiki Kishu knew that he had been completely fooled by Nangxiangshi. Yi's temper had no place to vent at this moment. The whole person also fell down softly. Aren't you already asleep? Qianzu. Nangxiangshi joked. You still pretend to be asleep on purpose and don't wake up when you hear my voice. Is this how you treat your fiancé who just signed a marriage agreement with you? Isn't this too cold? It's obviously you who asked me to sign, aren't you irresponsible? Nangxiangshi continued. Woohoo. All right. The blonde girl who covered her face and did not dare to look at Nangxiangshi made a voice of shame and anger. I know I was wrong. Shijun. Don't always tease me. To be honest. She actually didn't have much hope for this statement. After all, Nangxiangshi was obviously addicted to teasing her. They probably won't be willing to stop for a while. But that's when she thought about it. There was a voice from Nangxiang on the other side. Good. Why? The blonde girl removed her palm in surprise. She looked at Nangxiang in shock. It seemed as if she couldn't believe that this young man let her go so easily. Hey, what? Sensing Nishiki Kishu's surprised expression, Nang Xiangxi showed a funny expression. Didn't you tell me to stop? Or does Kishu really like to be teased by me? Who has that weird hobby? Nishiki Kishu immediately denied it, and then hesitantly said, it's just. Only. It's just that who would have thought that Shikun, you would actually, attack at night. The more we talk about it later. The girl's voice became more subtle. And her attitude made Nang Xiangxi couldn't help laughing. The night attack is indeed my fault, but the most important thing is actually dash. His voice paused slightly. I want to apologize for what happened before. Apologize for what happened before. Jinmyukinshu raised her head in confusion. Yeah. Didn't Jianshu say it before? I haven't come to Like for more than half a month, and I haven't taken the initiative to contact you. This is indeed something I did wrong. Nang Xiangxi held Jinmu Jianshu's palm, which was even finer and smoother than white jade. If you want to say this, you can do it during the day. Why are you teasing me like this? Nishiki Kishu muttered in reply. Yes. I could have apologized to her tomorrow. Why are there any sudden night attacks tonight? The result even shocked her. If I apologize to you like this during the day, Jianshu thinks, would you be able to listen to what I said at that time? Nang Xiangxi asked back. And his statement like this. Jinmu Jianshu couldn't help but feel dumb. Really? During the day, she was angry. So no matter what Nang Xiang said at that time, she probably won't even take it seriously. Actually, it also includes marriage matters. Nang Xiangxi fumbled for a while and took out the folded paper document from his pocket. If Jianshu you really don't want to, it doesn't matter if you tear it up now. After all, I also know that what you said at that time was just angry words. Jinmyukinshu. Looking at the marriage proposal delivered by Nang Xiang, Nishiki Kishu fell into silence. Tear up the marriage? She didn't know how to answer, so she could only cover her beautiful face with a pillow. After a while. Cunning. Jinmyukinsu, who covered his face with a pillow, spoke angrily, Shikun, you are so cunning. You know clearly that it is impossible for me to tear up this marriage, but you still want to tease me at this time. Yes. How could she tear up the marriage contract she signed with Nang Xiangxi? That is her ultimate goal as a girl. Although somewhat fast. It caught her by surprise and she was not mentally prepared. But she still wanted to start a real family with Nang Xiangxi. Therefore, it is impossible for her to tear up the marriage she finally got. She was even vaguely complaining about Nan Xiang's behavior of taking out the marriage papers and asking her to tear them up. However, when she was thinking this way, on the other side, Nang Xiangxi smiled again and spoke. Actually, it doesn't matter even if Jianshu you really tear up this document, because Nang Xiang opened the folded paper with his fingers. With some light reflected from the window. The girl clearly saw it. What Nang Xiang held in his hands was not marriage from beginning to end. Instead, there is a blank sheet of paper everywhere. Toki-kun. A voice of shame and anger came out at this moment. Nishiki Kishu blushed. Finally, she couldn't stand Nang Xiangxi's behavior of deliberately teasing her. He picked up one of the pillows and hit Nang Xiangxi on the head. But she didn't dare to use too much strength. This was true even though the soft pillow could not hurt Nang Xiang in front of him. Nang Xiangxi also noticed the change in the girl's mentality. At this, he breathed a small sigh of relief. After all, today seems like a small emotional vent for Nishiki Kishu. But in fact, the collapse of all relationships stems from the accumulation of this small dissatisfaction. As a simulated professional account. Nan Xiang knew this clearly. So no matter how big the deal is, he must find a way to resolve the dissatisfaction in Jinmyukinshu's heart. Fortunately, Everything went very smoothly. He successfully relieved Jin Mukhyunche's dissatisfaction. And he also got key props like marriage from the other party. It can be said to be gratifying. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiu Dao Yu de Ziwei. Chapter 405. So, next. Nang Xiangxi glanced sideways at the simulation page next to him while enduring Nishiki Kishu's pillow attack. He felt that it was time to start a new round of simulation. I hope that this time we can successfully find a way to solve Matsuzaka Sugar's emotional lack. Chapter 277. Simulation restarts 4,000 words. After calming down Nishiki Kishu's mood, the marriage was not broken off, and Nan Xiang was in a very good mood. Originally, he planned to go out directly, lie down in the living room, and start the simulation again. As a result, before Nang Xiangxi could get up, Nishiki Kishu called out to Nang Xiangxi with some embarrassment. "Shi-kun, just rest here." Nang Xiang subconsciously looked at Nishiki Kishu's face on the bed. By the incandescent light of the street lamp outside the dormitory window, Nang Xiangxi easily noticed the look on the other person's face. It should be because of the lighting mapping. Jinmu's bright red eyes were shining brightly, even more beautiful than the starry sky, and there was a faint blush on her face, like the faint red when the sun rises in the winter morning. "Is it okay?" He stopped and asked. Nishiki Kishu tilted her head to one side in embarrassment and lowered her voice, "We are an unmarried couple anyway." "Qianshu, what are you talking about?" Maybe it was because her voice was too soft and Nang Xiang didn't hear her. He turned his head strangely and approached Nishiki Kishu. "Too close. Get close when you feel Nang Xiang." The blush that was originally light only deepened in an instant. Nishiki Kishu didn't dare to look at Nan Xiangxi, and was also afraid that the blush on her face would be noticed by the other party. She turned around in a hurry, leaving only a back figure full of reverie for Nan Xiangxi. If he were an ordinary male protagonist in Japanese novels, he might have let Nishiki Kishu go by this time. But Nang Xiang didn't give her this chance at all. He directly stretched out his hand and pulled Jin Mukhyunche's body over. Looking at her fair and tender face, and even the fair collarbone that was half hidden under the pink pajamas, was slightly red, Nang Xiangxi continued to ask, "Qianshu, what on earth did you say just now?" Seeing Nan Xiang's reluctance, she said in a low voice, "Just, that, oops." Finally she couldn't bear it anymore and simply closed her eyes, not daring to look at Nang Xiang, and shouted loudly, "We are all unmarried couples anyway. It doesn't matter if we sleep together." Her voice is loud. There was absolutely no intention of hiding it. However, just after this sound, with her eyes closed, she could not feel any movement from the outside world. Nor could any sound be heard from Nang Xiang. This made her feel a little strange, and her bright red eyes slowly opened. Then she saw Nang Xiangxi looking at her, giving her a half-smiling expression. This person. He had obviously heard it, but he deliberately asked her to say it again in order to tease her and embarrass her. "You, Shi-kun, did you do it on purpose?" Her voice was angry and ashamed. "Yes." Nang Xiangxi said matter-of-factly, "Because Ms. Jinmu is too cute, I couldn't hold it back." "Toki-kun. This person is really going too far." Jin Mukhyunche felt that she was really going to be angry. At least he couldn't let Nang Xiangxi do whatever he wanted, lest the other party think that he was easy to bully. But the next second, "You will forgive me, right? Qianshu." His clean and pure black eyes looked over, and his handsome face was close to her. Nishiki Kishu could even feel the heat of Nang Xiangxi's breath. The anger that was rising just now. When Nan Xiangxi approached, he disappeared in an instant. The girl could only hesitantly say completely forgetting the idea that I had to be angry just now. Nan Xiangxi looked at the blonde girl hesitating and not daring to speak, and cheerfully stretched out his hand to pinch her baby fat cheeks. Then he lay down next to Nishiki Kishu without hesitation. After all, Ms. Nishikiki said it. You can sleep next to her. Nang Xiangxi had no reason to refuse such a good thing no matter what. But he just lay down next to Nishiki Kishu and fell asleep. In addition, he didn't make any extraordinary moves, although Nang Xiangxi knew that even if he did make extraordinary moves, Nishiki Kishu probably wouldn't care at all. He chatted with the blonde girl for a few more words. Soothe her confused thoughts a little. Nang Xiangxi lay flat on his back and looked at the simulation page floating in mid-air. We have almost had enough trouble. Next. Start a new simulation. He murmured something in his mind. Nan Xiangxi stretched out his finger and clicked on the simulation page in mid-air. Current heartbeat value, 1560. Apparently it was the reason for interacting with Jianshu today. The heart rate increased again. And the increase is really too big. When Nang Xiangxi saw it for the first time, he was stunned. But he soon thought that he had signed a marriage term with Nishiki Kishu. Such a huge increase, should it be said that it is the influence of the key item of marriage session? Even the carefree Miss Nishikiki provided so much heartwarming value. Nan Xiangxi nodded slightly, and then turned to click on the options of the simulated object next to him. Simulation object, Matsuzaka Sugar, do you want to start the simulation, whether? Yes. Nothing to think about. Nang Xiangxi clicked the yes option very simply. At the same time, the whole person's mind is also immersed in the simulation. You meet her on a rainy day, communicate with her, and touch each other. You have confirmed that this mentally ill woman is in love with you. This makes you sigh that no one can resist your charm, and at the same time, you also feel a headache. Because marrying the other person means that you can only look at her for the rest of your life. However, it is a pity that you cannot only plant one type of flower in your garden. What you long for is the colorful colors in early spring and the beautiful scenery when 100 flowers bloom. Don't talk about people like they're scum. Looking at this line of simulated text, Nang Xiangxi couldn't help but poke at the simulated page. This silly simulator lady always seems to enjoy teasing him. But never mind. Nang Xiangxi shook his head. He had already decided to take the let 100 flowers bloom route before. Although the simulator lady is not very good at talking. But he decided to hold back and continued to look down. Because there are already worries about ending the band, Rico and others. So, you want to escape her, or even unilaterally cut off your relationship with her. However, being soft-hearted is ultimately your greatest weakness. After school that day, she stood in the rain silently, like an abandoned puppy. You helplessly held up an umbrella for her under her sky, and scolded her as to why she was so confused that she didn't even want to bring an umbrella even though she had done so twice. Under your scolding, she took out the umbrella from her arms and told you that she wanted to follow you and didn't want to be too conspicuous, so she didn't want to hold an umbrella. Her naivete leaves you speechless for a while. But the love revealed under her calm and gentle face also makes you feel shocked. You understand, this woman seems to have really fallen in love with you at first sight. With your help, her aunt Matsuzaka Sayuri realized the mistakes she had made all along. Similarly, with your help, Matsuzaka Sato also realized that she had actually always had feelings for her aunt. You have never hidden from her that you want your garden to be colorful, and you want to make her give up through things and difficulties that are absolutely unbearable for ordinary girls. Your words did not waver her. She just silently chose to follow you. The relationship between you and her has gradually become closer during this process, and it has also become more difficult to let go. You gradually understand the reason for her lack of emotion, and work hard for it, so that she slowly understands the expression of emotions such as love and trouble. But you know that this is not enough. She does understand the expression of some feelings, but if she wants to cure her heart, you think you may need other help. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 406. 1 Aunt Matsuzaka, you don't want your niece to be bullied by me because she can't feel emotions, right? 2 Hida-san, you don't want to see your friend fall into the hands of a philanthropist like me, right? 3 Put aside the plot of helping others and think about it carefully. Matsuzaka Sayuri and Hidashoko are also very good people. 4. Simulate in person. Stop, 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 this Japanese netizen, please calm down. Looking at these options, Nanziyangshi thought to himself, are today's simulators becoming more and more beastly? What options are expressed in these? Nanziyangshi shook his head speechlessly, but he probably understood. The first option should be to ask Matsuzaka Sayuri for help, and the second option should be to ask Matsuzaka Sato's friend and best friend Hidashoko for help. Both of them are people who have a huge influence on Matsuzaka Sugar. It's just that the way the simulator expresses it is too problematic. It makes people feel very improper just by looking at it. But apart from this, why isn't there an option for 2 people to help together? Staring at the simulation page, Nanxiang held his chin. The so-called helping Matsuzaka Sugar understand feelings, in this aspect, the more people we can help, the better. It's not just Hidashoko, it's not just Matsuzaka Sayuri. But to combine the 2 of them. One is in charge of the inside of the school, the other is in charge of the outside of the school, that way everything is foolproof. But among these 3 options, option 3 is the first one that can be eliminated. Nangoshi was not so greedy that he attacked Matsuzaka Sayuri and Hidashoko. And the first and second options are options for choosing one person alone. Then, can you consider it this way? Nangxiang looked at the options in front of him and raised his eyebrows slightly. One of the first or second options is the wrong option. Sayuri Matsuzaka and Joko Hida. One of them not only cannot help improve Matsuzaka Sato's emotional deficit, but will actually hinder him. Thinking about it this way, these 3 options seem normal. So, which one is normal? Nangxiang didn't say anything. He raised his head and looked at the options on the light blue page of the simulator. After pondering for a long time, he made a decision, raised his hand and chose one option, asking Sayuri Matsuzaka for help. The reason is not complicated. Because Matsuzaka Sayuri has always known that Matsuzaka Sugar has symptoms of lack of emotion. As for Matsuzaka Sugar's friend and best friend, Hidashoko, it seems that she is a normal person, but in fact she knows nothing about Matsuzaka Sugar's past and Matsuzaka Sugar's lack of emotion. If Nangxiangshi rashly asks for her help, the other party might even regard him as one of Matsuzaka Granu's suitors. Not only will they not help, but they may also seduce them in secret. Take it all into consideration. It must be an aunt like Matsuzaka Sayuri who understands the world better. Nangxiang chose an option and continued to look down. Through your increasingly close relationship with Matsuzaka Sugar, you can easily go in and out of her apartment every day. Similarly, you have also established a line with Matsuzaka Sayuri. Sayuri Matsuzaka today is very different from before. During the simulation, the screen began to flash back. Clean room. Keep the floor tidy. And Sayuri Matsuzaka put on simple and clean indoor clothes again. It seemed like it had been a long time since she had brought home those shady men from outside. The bruises originally left on his body also slowly dissipated. When she saw Nangxiang, she didn't know why she wasn't surprised at all. On the contrary, she invited him to sit down with him and poured tea for him. Nangxiang-kun, I want to thank you. Sitting opposite Nangxiangshi, Matsuzaka Sayuri raised her head and spoke softly, you made me understand who the person I really need to face. I am very grateful to you. That's right. Nangxiang was surprised by the changes in Sayuri Matsuzaka. I originally thought that the other party was just having fun. But after repeated inspections, he found nothing unusual and confirmed that Sayuri Matsuzaka's personality had indeed improved significantly. Only then did he reveal his purpose. You share your thoughts with her. You tell Matsuzaka Sayuri that you want Matsuzaka Granu to learn how to express emotions, so that she will no longer be confused, and let her live more like a person rather than a simple object. Your idea was approved by Matsuzaka Sayuri, and she promised to be your helper and at least make up for the wrong things she had done before. The two of you quickly reached an agreement and hit it off. With the help and support of Sayuri Matsuzaka, and under the somewhat surprised look of Matsuzaka Satu, you moved directly into her home. For Matsuzaka Sugar, this is both a surprise and a bit confusing. Surprise is that when you stay in her home, she can feel you at close range. What is puzzling is why her aunt would agree to you living with her so easily. You know, she has never mentioned anything about you to Sayuri Matsuzaka. Why does that aunt who should know nothing about you know something about you? With such questions, she became vaguely vigilant. Pay attention to the dynamics between you and Sayuri Matsuzaka. Chapter 278. What is hidden under a girl's skirt? 4,000 words. No, Miss Matsuzaka, what are you wary of? Look at the text in the simulation. Nangxiang felt that the girl Matsuzaka Sugar had a big problem. That's your aunt. Do you know the age difference between your aunt and me? You're still over 10 years old, if not 20 years old, right? Are you wary of an aunt who is more than 20 years older? Is it completely wrong to be wary of the wrong target? Nangxiang was speechless for a while and couldn't help but shake his head. However, Matsuzaka Granis would have such a reaction, which was still within his expectation. After all, Matsuzaka Sayuri has a criminal record before and is considered an old and dishonest person. In addition, Matsuzaka Sayuri is born with a kind of charm that can manipulate any man. It's quite normal for Matsuzaka Sugar to be wary of this. Think of this. Nangxiang needs to focus his willpower on the simulation. But the next second. Suddenly a soft impact feeling came from his side. This made Nangxiangshi, who was lying on his back, stunned for a moment. He glanced sideways subconsciously. I saw the blonde girl who was lying on her side with her back turned. Already turned around unconsciously. That clear and energetic face was paired with a few strands of blonde hair. Sakura's lips also became within reach because of her unconscious movement towards her. She should be completely asleep. The body also curled up slightly unconsciously. And it was precisely because of her actions that the buttons on her chest, which were far plumper than her peers, as tall as Mount Fuji, seemed to tighten. Nangxiangshi. This woman, falls asleep really quickly. But it's not her fault. Too much happened today. They are married and sleeping together. It was probably because the mental shock was too much that she could fall asleep so quickly. Nangxiang leaned over and gently touched the girl's pink lips, then stretched out his hand to pinch her fair face and pulled up the quilt. How to say? Next to her is Miss Nishikiki. In front of me is a simulation page about Matsuzaka Sugar. I had a weird feeling when I was in Nangxiang. Even though he is sleeping in Nishikikishi's bed, he is still simulating other women. Is there something about this behavior? Inexplicably, Nangxiang felt a kind of condemnation from his conscience. But soon, he shook his head and threw his conscience aside. It's just a simulation. It's not like we have real contact in reality. No need to worry too much. Gave myself some psychological comfort. He continued to look at the simulation page, immersing his attention in it. There is a reason for Matsuzaka Sugar's vigilance. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 407. She is well aware of the allure of a rare Tokyo beauty like you to Sayuri Matsuzaka, and she also fully understands your curiosity and desire for the female body as an adolescent. Because of this, she became wary of the relationship between you and Sayuri Matsuzaka. Of course, she still believes in you. She knows that a young man like you will not succumb to temptation so easily, let alone have an intimate relationship with Sayuri Matsuzaka who is in her 30s or 40s. Good. Nangxiang, she nodded secretly. It seems that I have never succumbed to temptation, never fallen, and some people are willing to believe in my excellent and noble qualities. He continued to look down. It is precisely because she believes in you that she hired a detective to investigate extramarital affairs, to investigate the relationship between you and Aunt Matsuzaka. Even when necessary, she will personally go into battle and secretly follow you and Matsuzaka Sayuri. Nangxiang time. No. Ms. Matsuzaka? Are you sure you believe me? Detective. Last row. Nangxiang rubbed his temples. To put it bluntly, he has always felt that his character should be without any problems and worthy of others' trust. As a result, after what Miss Matsuzaka did, he couldn't help but shake his head. She's just a woman after all. I simply don't understand my willpower in the face of temptation. Nangxiang shrugged, not paying attention to Matsuzaka Granu's actions in the simulation. After all, no matter how you look at it, it is impossible for him to have any close relationship with Sayuri Matsuzaka. This is more than 20 years apart. It's impossible no matter how you think about it, right? He is still very confident in his willpower. So, since all Matsuzaka Sugar has done is useless, then there's no need to worry about her so-called investigation. Anyway, it all ends in vain. Nangxiang thought so optimistically. Then, under Matsuzaka Granu's careful investigation, she did discover the gradually intimate relationship between you and Matsuzaka Sayuri. In your spare time, you will go shopping with the other person. Sometimes I will accompany her to some clothing stores. Judging from the results given by the detective investigating the extramarital affair, you and Matsuzaka Sayuri spent most of the time going out together during those days. Ah! When he saw this, Nangxiang couldn't help but rub his eyes. Mainly because he didn't quite believe what he saw. He and Sayuri Matsuzaka go out often? No. Mr. Nangxiang, what are you doing? Nangxiang took a breath of cold air. It shouldn't be. Whether it is from a personality perspective or from the age difference between the two of them, they are more than 10 or 20 years apart. It's impossible for him to get together with Sayuri Matsuzaka. He didn't even have this bit of self-control when he was in Nangxiang, right? Nangxiang, she was a little incomprehensible. But he always felt that there should be a hidden secret in it. So he could only be patient and continue to look down. Faced with a lot of clues and evidence before him, Matsuzaka Granis was also a little surprised. The main reason is that she really can't imagine that your relationship with Sayuri Matsuzaka has progressed so quickly. But even so, she still believes in you and thinks that Sayuri Matsuzaka deliberately asked you to go out and asked you to accompany her. After all, in her opinion, her aunt is a woman with a criminal record. It is natural that I will be interested in you who is young, has red lips, white teeth, and handsome appearance. In order to find out the true relationship between you and Sayuri Matsuzaka, she quietly investigated your mobile phone. While living with you, she has secretly memorized your gesture password. Unlocking is not difficult for her. However, to her surprise, most of the chat records between you and Sayuri Matsuzaka were initiated by you. This made her a little surprised. Because in her understanding, you should be asked by Matsuzaka Sayuri and restricted by the other person's elder status, So you have no choice but to accompany the other person shopping. But even though the evidence of your invitation has been placed in front of her, she still doesn't want to believe this fact. She told herself that it was just a chat record at most, with no reference at all. In her eyes, you are still the flawless and charming Nang Xiang Sr. In reality, Nang Xiang she couldn't stand it any longer. What kind of love brain is this? It was already like this, but Matsuzaka Granu didn't doubt his intentions yet. When I saw Nang Xiang in reality, I couldn't help but be surprised. To be honest, even as a bystander, he was almost certain that he was cheating on her in the simulation. Even if it's not cheating. That's not far from cheating. All he needed to do was slap the real evidence of cheating on Matsuzaka Sato's face. In the end, even so, Matsuzaka Granis was still willing to believe him and still protected him from the bottom of her heart. This is really. Nang Xiangxi decided to continue reading. She has always been very insensitive to feelings and doesn't even know what to do. She feels that she can no longer be the same as before. Although I don't know what to do. But she feels that she must talk to you about her aunt. So, during a lunch break when both you and she are free. She called you up to the rooftop and told you what she had seen and understood during this period. She tells you that if you just like someone else, she actually has no complaints. Only her aunt Matsuzaka Sayuri cannot do it. Her voice remains calm and gentle, but if you listen carefully, it seems to be trembling. Simulated screen. It's like a movie tape. Start playing in your head. The rooftop of Oka High School is basically closed after noon, and students are prohibited from entering. This is said to take care of the safety of the students. But in fact, the main purpose is to prevent some students who want to commit suicide from going to the rooftop and jumping off, and the school will be held responsible afterwards. And dig into this. The rooftop of Oka High School is actually quite nice. There are no benches, but there are high guard rails. Through the light green protective fence, you can see the divided blue sky. The blue sky is a bit dazzling. The air seems much fresher. And standing in such an open place, my mood seems to be much more relaxed. This is how Nang Xiang felt at this time. He turned his face sideways and looked at the girl who was also looking at the blue sky in trance. So, Matsuzaka-san, you asked me to come up this time, do you have something to say? Matsuzaka Sugar is by his side. Those pink eyes were staring at the clean blue sky that reflected her pure heart. Only when I heard Nang Xiangxi's voice. Only then did those pink eyes turn around. Senior Nang Xiang. Nang Xiangxi responded softly, watching her long pink hair being caressed by the wind blowing from nowhere. I don't recommend that you stay with my aunt. She said what she wanted to say with a calm attitude. And this also made Nang Xiangxi show a strange expression. Why do you say that? He asked, seemingly confused. Because I saw it? Mixed with the blue sky and gentle breeze, the pink-haired girl's voice was like a wind chime, calm and crisp. I saw Senior Nang Xiang and my aunt walking down the street together, and I also saw Senior Nang Xiang and you entering the clothing store with your aunt and talking about something. You seemed very happy. When it comes to this. The girl turned her head, lowered her eyes, and spoke in a low voice, I know that Nang Xiang Senpai is not that kind of person, and it is impossible for him to get involved with my aunt. The calm tone paused slightly. He continued. Even if it is really entangled with my aunt, it must be my aunt's problem. She didn't know what she was feeling. It's completely different from the usual bitter or sweet ones. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi Iway. Chapter 408. This time. There was a stronger sourness in her heart than the lemons just picked from the tree. Matsuzaka Granis raised her head and asked softly, why? Money? Or body? Or is it possible that Senior Nang Xiang has some leverage that was grasped by his aunt? So he was coerced and forced to be with her. she asked, with an expression of indescribable concern. These seemed normal to her. After all, what kind of person is his aunt? She actually knows best. However, her words made Nan Xiang feel funny inexplicably. Mainly at times like this. No matter how suspicious you are, you should first doubt him as a man. After all, flies don't bite seamless eggs. Why is Matsuzaka Granis still suspicious of her aunt? But apparently Matsuzaka Granis didn't notice the change in Nang Xiangshi's expression. She just stretched out her hand and took the initiative to grab Nang Xiangshi. Nang Xiangshi was a little surprised by the girl's sudden initiative. You must know that Matsuzaka Granis is a person who never knows how to express his emotions. She would only look at everyone with her peaceful and gentle eyes. Take the initiative to express your emotions like this. It's something she rarely does. Nang Xiang subconsciously wanted to get rid of it. But I feel the strength contained in it. He didn't break away in the end. As long as I can stay away from my aunt, I will help Nang Xiang Sr. solve these problems. Matsuzaka Granu said softly. I have actually been working outside, and now I have saved a lot of money, probably 1 or 2 million, it was more than this in the original work. In the future, I will have no problem even supporting Nang Xiang Sr. Then she continued to speak. If someone gets the handle, as long as I talk to my aunt, there should be no problem and it can be solved smoothly. She was thinking about Nang Xiangshi word by word with a very serious expression. Then there's the body, Nang Xiang Senpai. She approached Nang Xiang with an expressionless expression. When I was in Nang Xiang, I could even feel the faint fragrance coming from her body. Compared to that person, I should be in pretty good shape too. She spoke so quietly. At the same time, he stretched out his hand and put it on his skirt. This is the rooftop of Oka High School. She said so. I borrowed the key to the door from Xiangzi. Looked up. In other words, no one will come here during noon. She explained. Wearing a mid-length winter skirt, she slowly lifted the hem of her skirt. The girl's fair thighs were looming under it. You stopped her from doing this. Nang Xiang time. Chapter 279. He kissed her lips 4,500 words. What Nango felt strange wasn't actually the fact that he in the simulation prevented Matsuzaka Sato from lifting up his skirt. After all, he has always believed in his noble and pure personality. He is a good young man with good conduct who never takes advantage of young girls. How could it be possible to watch the other person lift up her skirt in front of her? On the contrary, it would be better if he took the initiative to stop it. Thinking this, Nan Xiangshi turned his head and glanced sideways at Jin Mujianshu. He reached out his hand and gently pinched the other person's sleeping face, and then he looked back at the simulation comfortably. You stopped her from continuing to lift her skirt. You are not a gentleman. Similarly, for you, this is indeed a huge temptation in front of you, but you don't want to expose the other person's body in this situation, or when the other person is so unclear. Take away. She complained about your stopping her, but she didn't say much. She just straightened her clothes and then stood quietly next to you, waiting for you to speak. You told her what happened and explained to her that what she saw was actually a misunderstanding. December 3rd, that is her birthday. The reason why you have close communication with Sayuri Matsuzaka is mainly to prepare a birthday gift for her. Simulated memories came flooding back to me in the next second. In reality, Nang Xiang closed his eyes and looked. On the rooftop of the school, the sun is shining brightly, and everything looks so dazzling. The palm of Matsuzaka Suzu's hand stopped her from lifting up her skirt. The black-haired young man took a breath of fresh air first, and while calming down the throbbing in his heart, he looked at the pink-haired girl in front of him in a funny way. Mainly he didn't expect it. The girl in front of me seemed to have a peaceful face. He would actually take such drastic action to persuade him not to have any contact with Sayuri Matsuzaka. But actually, these are all misunderstandings by you, Matsuzaka-san. Misunderstand? Matsuzaka-sato raised his head. Nanziongshi's eyes were hidden under his messy black hair. She found that under the sunlight, the young man in front of her seemed to be glowing. Even the smile he showed was warmed by the sunshine. He was seen approaching the guardrail, looking at the students walking back and forth in the campus atrium, and said, "Actually, your aunt and I don't have that kind of relationship at all." "Is it?" Matsuzaka-sato responded in a low voice. If someone else said this, she might not believe it at all. But the person who said these words was Nangxiangshi. What else could she do? She was already the prey in the insect net set by the other party. You can only work very hard to make yourself believe in the other person. Nangxiangshi also noticed the change in her mood. He smiled slightly and turned his head. "Matsusaka-san, I think you have forgotten." "Forget?" Nanziongsshi nodded. "In a while, it will be your birthday." Leaning against the guardrail, Nangziongshi's voice didn't stop. "Aunt Matsuzaka and I went out together. It was not because we had any close relationship, nor was she tempted or coerced by her with money, leverage, or body. It was because she and I were discussing what kind of birthday gift we should choose for you." When I heard this, Matsuzaka Granu was stunned. Because she never thought that the reason for you and Matsuzaka Sayuri to go out was so simple. Actually just to buy her a birthday gift. But I didn't expect it. Matsuzaka Sugar was stunned there. Here, Nangxiangshi came to her. The girl subconsciously raised her head. He happened to see Nangxiang's teasing eyes. "I didn't expect that our princess, who has never known how to express her feelings, would actually feel jealous. Envy." Matsuzaka Sato tilted her head, and her cute side face looked even fairer in the sunlight. Nangxiangshi felt a little itchy, so he stretched out his hand and stroked the side of her face. "Yes, jealous." He smiled and leaned close to Matsuzaka Sato's ear. "Whether you take the initiative to invite me to come to the rooftop, or secretly express your hope that I won't get too involved with your aunt, or even take the initiative to seduce me, isn't this a sign of jealousy? Do not know why." Maybe it was Nangxiangshi's words that struck a chord in his heart. Or maybe it was because she could clearly feel Nangxiang's hot breath with her ears. It's also possible that it's both. Her normally stable heart was in turmoil at this moment. She subconsciously reached out and touched her face. Because she felt indescribable heat on her face. Even when Nangxiangshi looked over, her gentle gaze seemed to be tinged with thorns, giving her a thorny and embarrassed feeling on her face. "No, don't look at me, Senior Nangxiang." For the first time ever, she felt panicked. He lowered his head hurriedly and whispered. "But the more she becomes like this." The Nangxiang senior on the other side was even more reluctant to let her have her wish. Instead, he deliberately removed her palm that was covering his face as if he was causing trouble. Originally, she wanted to block it with her hands to prevent the other party from noticing the strangeness on her face. But my love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi Iway. Chapter 409. No blocking. Just a simple sentence rang in my ears. She seemed to be under a spell sung by the wizard in Harry Potter and could no longer lift her palms. There was no way to stop Nangxiangshi's next move. He forced the girl into a corner. "So, now that the misunderstanding has been resolved, how should I punish the princess who is always jealous?" He smiled and stretched out his hands, gently caressing the girl's delicate side face. This was something he had wanted to do a long time ago. The girl's upright and delicate face has a feeling that makes people want to do whatever they want on it. However, Matsuzaka Sato hurriedly lowered his head and shrank his face back in embarrassment. This is the action of someone touching your cheek directly with your palm. It made her feel even more shy than if she took the initiative to lift up her skirt. "Do not move," Nangxiangshi said softly. Then he gently pushed aside the long pink hair that blocked her sight, and looked into her pink eyes that seemed to be filled with all kinds of emotions. And her cherry pink lips seemed more moist than peach. In the sun. Everything about her looks so good. Does Matsuzaka-san like me? He asked as his forehead gently touched hers. The girl's forehead felt a little hot. The questions he asked when facing Nangxiang and his intimate behavior. A girl suffering from emotional deficits is at a loss. She could only lower her head and say softly. Do you like Nangxiang Shi? In fact, she always had the answer in her heart. That's definitely what I like. She answered thus. And raised his head, hoping to get a reply from Nangxiang Shi. But she was disappointed. The young man just smiled and said really, and then there was no other sound. It was as if he had taken the initiative just now. The heartfelt exchanges just now were all false. She gently turned her head and looked at Nangxiang with a hint of sadness in her eyes, which had always been submissive to him. Senior Nangxiang. He turned his head strangely. The answer. Matsuzaka Sato took the first step and spoke hesitantly. This was the first time she summoned up courage to the young man in front of her. However. Answer. The young man showed an expression that he had just come to realize, and then blinked at her. How do you want me to reply to you, sugar? Matsuzaka sugar. This man in front of me. It was really far more evil than she imagined. She has obviously taken the initiative. If love goes in both directions. Then Matsuzaka Granis felt that he should have taken 99 steps forward. And Nangxiang only needed to take that single step. But even so. The other party also had no intention of actively expressing his feelings. Instead, he allowed her to express her inner thoughts in a semi-forced and semi-guided manner. Obviously I have worked so hard. Can't you be more proactive? The girl complained a little. But after complaining, he cheered up again. Senior Nangxiang, you like me, right? When she said this, she grabbed Nangxiang's sleeve. Her face was flushed, and she expressed her love to the young man awkwardly. There was even pleading in those pink eyes. But. No. His disavowal of her brave words. This made Matsuzaka Granu look at him with moist eyes. From birth to now. This was the first time she felt like crying. However. Just when she was about to lose her soul. The young man pinched her cheek. I mean, it's not like, it's love. The feeling of despair completely disappeared at this moment. Matsuzaka Sato raised his eyes blankly. I happened to catch the young man's gentle gaze. Gazes warmer than the sunshine on the rooftop poured down. It was like looking at her dry heart that no one had been able to touch for a long time. When looking at Nangxiang like this. Look at his bright red lips in the sun. For the first time, the girl had an impulse. She thought of love TV dramas where girls and boys talk to each other. They lowered their heads to each other, lips touching each other. At that time, Matsuzaka Granis didn't understand the significance of that kind of simple mucosal contact. Why can the audience sing for joy or burst into tears just by seeing such a kiss scene? But this time, she seemed to understand the meaning of the act of kissing. She looked at the other person's lips and felt stunned. It wasn't until Nangxiang she seemed to notice that he was looking over that he quickly retracted his gaze. It seems that our princess has other needs. Nangxiang smiled. However, this smile made her quickly lower her head. Even though her long pink hair blocks her eyes. She still felt embarrassed, but her fingers unconsciously touched her lips. She was thinking. If I kissed Nangxiang, what does it feel like? This idea just comes up. It began to take root in my mind. And it is growing unscrupulously outward. This made her inexplicably distressed. He was obviously willing to use his body to seduce the other party before. But it's time for a simple kiss. She acted extremely shy and didn't know how to deal with it. Maybe this is the girl's heart. It's hard to grasp. Her heart was in turmoil. At the same time, he raised his head, trying to use his eyes and gestures to hint at what Nan Xiang was thinking. For her. Just making these hints to Nang Xiangxi seemed to have used all his strength. However, Nang Xiangxi seemed to have not seen it. He kept talking to her about the interesting things that happened in the school club recently. The calligraphy club ran out of ink, and the head of the judo club was found cheating on his girlfriend and died on the spot. But now Matsuzaka Granu doesn't want to hear this at all. She also didn't want to care about what happened to the head of the judo club who cheated on her. The desire on her lips urged her on. At last, Matsuzaka Sato finally spoke stumblingly. Senior Nang Xiang. The young man turned his head strangely. Well, we should be lovers now, right? She asked uneasily and softly. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi Iway. Chapter 410. Over there, Nang Xiangxi didn't continue teasing her this time. He just smiled and nodded, of course. This sentence made her originally anxious mood calm down a little. Then, she spoke softly. Then, should we do something that only couples can do? Something that only lovers can do? What does sugar mean? Nan Xiangxi's expression became a little playful, and he took the initiative to approach the pink-haired girl. It's that scene you often see in TV dramas. The pink-haired girl lowered her head shyly and whispered. Oh. Nang Xiang was very smart. It only took him an instant to understand that what Matsuzaka Granu was talking about was something like kissing. But is sugar making a request to me? Nang Xiangxi did not agree immediately, but asked instead. Hey? It's not that. When Nan Xiangxi asked this question, the girl panicked. She waved her hand and was about to continue talking. Are you making a request to me? Nan Xiangxi interrupted her words and continued to ask. If you don't answer my question, you won't do anything like that. It was clear that Nang Xiang was the one taking advantage. But at this time, he turned around and demanded high prices, threatening and coercing. This made Matsuzaka Granu not know what to say for a while. Her lips moved slightly. After a while, he turned his head to one side and nodded, well. Afterwards, she didn't care whether Nang Xiangxi wanted to or not. Slowly close your eyes. At the same time, he half raised his head. Sakura's lips trembled slowly at this moment. She longed for the love from Nang Xiang. And looking at Matsuzaka Sato, who was so proactive, Nang Xiangxi's originally deliberately mischievous expression also softened. In fact, he didn't want to bully Matsuzaka Sato on purpose. Just because of the symptoms of Matsuzaka Sugar's lack of emotion, he had to force Matsuzaka Sugar to take the initiative at some point and let her make the choice. Because that's the only way. Only then can she understand how to express her feelings. Just like this time I took the initiative to ask for a kiss. Without forcing Matsuzaka Sato, it would be basically impossible for her to do such a thing. Because taking the initiative to ask for a kiss means expressing your own feelings. She longs for the love of others. Also working hard to get the love of others. Just in this way, there will be gains. Because this means that the girl who was originally stoic and lacking in emotions gradually regained her emotions. The desire for a lover is one of the greatest human emotions. Looking at Matsuzaka Sato, who still had his head half raised in front of him, Nang Xiangxi had no reason to hesitate at this time. Although I really want to bully her again. Nang Xiangxi smiled. But this time, forget it. After all, Matsuzaka Sato has already worked so hard to show his emotions. Although, the way she expresses her emotions is very green. But she was already working hard. Think so? Nangxiang lowered his head. Bang! The crisp sound of bats hitting baseballs came from the baseball field not far away. At the same time, there were excited shouts of home run and home run from the young students. Below are the students who are full of youthful vitality. And on the rooftop of the winter campus, Nangxiang kissed Matsuzaka Sato's lips. Chapter 280. The girl's hobbies are different from ordinary people. 3,500 words. Good guy. People hit home runs on the baseball field, but you hit home runs on the love field, right? Get a feel for what's going on in the simulation. In reality, Nangxiang she couldn't help but sigh. He didn't even expect that he was so powerful. It's not just about advancing the relationship to lovers in one fell swoop. He even had Matsuzaka Granu's first kiss directly. This progress can be said to be very fast. Even though the me in the simulation is only 1/10 of my strength, I can still easily control the girl who lacks emotions. It is indeed me. He sighed in his heart and ignored the simulator prompt of narcissism improvement in his ear. After all, it is compared to something as trivial as checking narcissism specialty improvement. He was actually more concerned about the state of Matsuzaka sugar in the simulation. I felt jealous of Sayuri Matsuzaka, and took the initiative to make a request to me. Nangxiang cheered up. Have to say, just these 2 items were enough to make him feel excited. You must know that in the past, Matsuzaka Sugar didn't know how to express his emotions at all. Even the simulation in the last week's episode died in depression because he couldn't express his feelings. And this week, Matsuzaka Granis has begun to express her emotions. Even though it was a little green, even though some of it was a reaction under his guidance. But you must know that these are the emotions and thoughts expressed by Matsuzaka Granu's wishes. The progress is not small. But just like that, we can't take it lightly. Nangxiang she has not forgotten that the last time he imitated Matsuzaka Sugar's depression, it became a red star in the sky. The reason for the other party's depression is actually not just her, but also the ending band, Rico Rico, Shinjo Akane, Fudabario and others also married me, right? Nangxiang she murmured to himself as he stared at the simulator page. That's right. Matsuzaka Sugar's love is indeed pure. And this pure love, when she met the band that ended up exactly like her, Rico Rico, Akane Shinjo, Ryo Futaba, and the others. How will it develop? Is it the same as the last life? Depressed? Or is there something else going on? This is after solving the symptoms of Matsuzaka Sugar's lack of emotion. Things he needs to care about. Close your eyes when you are in Nangxiang. The whole mind sank into the simulation. Your relationship with Matsuzaka Sugar is going very smoothly. Since kissing you on the rooftop, it's like the depression in her heart has been completely cleared. Originally peaceful and lacking in emotion, she gradually learned to express her emotions. This change is very slow. And the way she expresses her emotions is also very green. For example, while you are cooking, I secretly come to you and give you a kiss. Another example is that when you sit down, you gently lift up one side of your skirt to reveal your fair and attractive thighs. Although you repeatedly reminded her that she was playing with fire, she still went her own way. Having a way to express her emotions, Matsuzaka Sugar is far more willful than you think. Faced with Matsuzaka Sugar, you decide. 1. Teach her a lesson, just use the 36 postures I learned online. 2. Educate her in love that is based on emotion and reason. 3. It took a lot of effort to get her to learn to express her emotions. Of course, we can't stop her here. I heard that Sayuri Matsuzaka has a lot of useful props at home, why not ask her to borrow them? 4. Simulate in person. 3 options are neatly arranged. And the content of that option made Nangxiang feel speechless in real life. 36 postures. Ask Sayuri Matsuzaka to borrow props? Miss Simulator, are you really not afraid of getting pregnant out of wedlock? You must know that Matsuzaka Sugar is only 16 years old. What if I'm pregnant? My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi Iway. Chapter 411. The entire simulation process might just collapse at this moment. But, how should I put it? When Nangxiang looked at the option personal simulation, he was inexplicably moved. You must know that he just has 1260 heartbeat points in his hand. There is absolutely no problem in doing a personal simulation here. But, if you use personal simulation here, there will be no heartbeat value to use if there are any options that need to be corrected later. Nangxiang Shi took a deep breath and suppressed his inner desires. The reason why I left 1200 heartbeat points and didn't do anything else. It was because he wanted to use personal simulation in the simulation. Good steel should be used on the blade. Men can never blur the goals of what they want to do next just for the sake of the immediate desire. In that case, then there's no need to think about it. Nangxiang Shi looked up and chose the second option. You decide to educate her in love that is based on emotion and reason. Similarly, you also know that you should not be too strict with her education, otherwise she may be afraid of your criticism as she has just learned to express her emotions. Since you and Matsuzaka Sugar are already living together, it is not difficult to wait for the opportunity for you to educate her. In the eyes of Matsuzaka Sugar, it's always lonely and quiet in my own home in the early morning. It's like a place that was accidentally abandoned by the world. It's always quiet, no sound is heard, no popularity at all. She sometimes feels a little lonely. But she endured all these. This is the path she chose after a big fight with her aunt Matsuzaka Sayuri. Although it was a bit lonely walking on this road alone, and the wind was biting occasionally, she still decided to walk alone. But all this. Everything changed completely after the arrival of one person. Matsuzaka Sato, who had just left the bedroom, looked towards the kitchen. Over there. The black-haired young man is preparing today's breakfast. I just saw his back. Matsuzaka Sugar calmed down. She approached from behind gently. Then without hesitation, she reached out her hand and hugged him. This is her coquettish gesture towards the young man. His head was buried deeply into the other person's back. Granulated sugar. I've told you so many times not to hug me so suddenly. Nangxiang patted her head with his hand, and I remember I told you that you are not allowed to touch me like this again, right? Matsuzaka Sugar. Regarding Nangxiang words, Matsuzaka Sato did not answer. Because the other party did say such things. She was not allowed to touch him. But in normal times in Nangxiang, the most we can do is talk about it. In fact, no action was taken on this. Therefore, she only needs to remain silent and she should be able to get away with it. However, Nangxiang today seemed not to let her go just like that. The other party's behavior is getting more and more excessive. It is no longer limited to the home. There was even a vague intention to touch him outside. Several times. She even took off her shoes and secretly moved Nangxiang's trouser legs with the toes of her perfectly shaped feet wearing black socks under the cover of the restaurant table outside. It can be said that this girl is gradually becoming lawless. Although as a man, he would not feel disgusted by this kind of thing. But for girls' education, it must be very inappropriate to let her behavior go unchecked. If this continues, maybe the other person will awaken some bad sexual fetishes. So it's best to nip everything in the bud before it comes to that. He put down the kitchen knife, wiped his hands, and said with a faint smile on his face, "It seems that I am too pampered by Miss Matsuzaka." Contact between lovers is a very common thing. Matsuzaka Sato didn't care about Nangxiang's words and just spoke like this. But the next second, Matsuzaka Granu suddenly felt dizzy. Wait until she reacts. Nanxiang had already picked her up without hesitation. Senior Nangxiang. Surprised voice. Didn't I tell you everything? It seems that I have been so pampered by Miss Matsuzaka that Miss Matsuzaka has forgotten what kind of person I am. Nangxiang she simply leaned over Matsuzaka's sugar and placed it on his lap. This is how you should educate the disobedient Miss Matsuzaka. He said so. Then he raised his hand. He slapped Matsuzaka Sato's butt hard. Well. Feel the force coming from your butt. Matsuzaka Sato's originally peaceful face immediately turned red. She opened her mouth, hoping that Nangxiang she could put her down. However, Nangxiang turned a deaf ear to her shy shouts. Just raise your hand and slap it again and again. It's a form of shame therapy. Based on observations from Nangxiang times. Although the pink-haired girl who lacks emotions is not interested in most things. However, in terms of shyness, he is far more sensitive than the average person. As long as you grasp this point for education, you should be foolproof. With your education, Matsuzaka Granis clearly stated that he understood his mistake. At the same time, you are vaguely aware that a girl's excitement may be different from that of ordinary girls. You used this as a threat and finally stopped the girl's increasingly wanton behavior. Nangxiang shi. I didn't expect you to be such a Matsuzaka sugar. Nangxiang didn't expect it either. Miss Matsuzaka, who seems peaceful, doesn't care about everything, and lacks emotions, actually likes to be spanked. This is really an unexpected gain for Nangxiang shi. I always feel that few girls who can get together with me are normal people. Nangxiang shi couldn't help but sigh. Look around. Whether it was Ichiri Goto at the beginning, or people like Ryo Yamada, Akane Shinjo, and Ryo Futable later on. It doesn't feel normal. The only normal person was Nishiki Kishu who was sleeping next to him. I really didn't expect it. Nangxiang shi turned his head and looked at Jinmu Kinshu. The other party was completely asleep at this time. There was a faint sound of cute and light snoring. Nangxiang helped her pull up the quilt a little bit after kicking it off. At the same time, he subconsciously wanted to pull his right hand away from the opponent's hands holding his arms. But after trying again and again, he gave up. The opponent's grip was too tight. He couldn't pull it out at all. He turned his gaze again and looked at the light blue simulation screen in mid-air. Matsuzaka Granis's mood has begun to recover steadily. He can also clearly feel this through simulation. Well, in this case, what you need to worry about is the affairs of the girls such as En the Band and Rico Rico. In order not to disturb Nishiki Kishu next to him, Nangxiang thought this in his heart. He couldn't think of any good solution for a while. I can only continue to look at the simulation and decide to act based on the situation. Matsuzaka Sato's symptoms of emotional loss are getting better. This is not just something you can detect. Even her friend Hidashoko can feel that Matsuzaka sugar seems to be more humane now than before. She will clearly express what she wants or doesn't want, and she is no longer as aloof as before, looking at everyone with an overly innocent look.